live from the Command Center. It is the Command Center with your host, Joseph Henry. Thank you all for tuning in to episode 6 of our Commanders Base podcast. Hope you're all good. It's been about 2 weeks now since our last episode, and first and foremost, I just want to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry to all the viewers and listeners out there, countless hundreds, thousands maybe. It's been a while since my last episode. The reason being, as you can see, I'm in a new setup. I'm in my new room. I moved from living with my parents to now living with my brother. And I've got this privacy screen up so you guys can't see my room because it's a little bit of a mess right now. And also there's all these mirrors. And I don't want anybody to get in the back of my hair because it's a little bit messed up. But also, I don't know. It's just I got to get the room set up and then you'll all be ready to see. But yeah, it's just been hectic. Moving, working, getting ready for school, everything like that. It's been a lot going on. And I haven't been able to sit down and talk Commanders with you guys like I love to so much. I love making these episodes. And, obviously we don't have a ton of viewers or listeners or subscribers right now. But, anybody who's listening or watching, it's just awesome. And I really appreciate it. So thank you guys so much for taking that time out of your day. And yeah, it's just a very exciting time to be a Commanders fan. And I'm sorry. I'm very sorry it's been so long since our last episode. But I have some news that might lift that a little bit. We're going to be doing, from now on, the entire football season, at least one episode a week. Always one episode. We're not going to have 7 days without a new episode. So, very, very excited for that. During football season, you have to, right? During the off season, we'll see what happens. But, as I start school and as I get continuously busier and busier, it's just very important to me that, I keep up with this and that we keep growing this community and that, we command it and we just get it done. So very excited for that. I've just been so busy. I'm so tired. I'm so exhausted, but just so happy to talk with you guys. But yeah, apologies. Also, sorry about this. This awesome microphone. It takes some time to set up and find the right angle to get the right audio, but sometimes it constructs my face, but you guys don't really care what I look like. You just want to hear what I have to say. If anybody even does. I know you all do though. But very sorry about the delay, but from now on, one episode a week, absolutely. And very excited as we're gearing up for football season now. I'm recording this on September 1st. Not sure if you guys can hear that, but there's an ambulance coming down my block. But yeah, in my new setup, hope you guys enjoy it. Sorry about that. I got a lot of cool Commander stuff right now. I'm wearing a shirt. It says, "Command the future, honor the past." It was given to me from a family member, so nice shirt. But yeah, hope everybody's been good and having a good time these past few weeks. Summer's been winding down for us, our students. I'm going back to school on Tuesday after Labor Day. Got my Rutgers coffee cup. Oh, I would move my other finger, but then I'd drop it. But yeah, let's just get right into it. But I hope everybody's good. Let's get right into it. Let's command the news real quick. So, last episode we were discussing the joint practice between the Baltimore Ravens and the Washington Commanders. Then the Commanders on Monday Night Football played the Ravens in their second preseason game and got the win. The Commanders came in hot and won that preseason game. And it was on a last-second field goal by Joey Sly, a 49-yarder. And they broke the 24 preseason win streak by the Ravens. So awesome. That entire vibe was just so cool. Sam Cosmi saying earlier that week that he didn't care about a preseason streak and that they were going to beat it. Completely no reason for him to say any of that. Very cocky, very ridiculous. But it was just so much fun. And then, him grittying and everybody. Like, the fan base has just been so much fun these past few weeks ever since we got this new owner. So that was so much fun. It was an amazing game for Washington. We'll get into that later. When we really break down both of these games. I'm not going to be able to go as in-depth with it because don't want to spend too much time on either game, but this was the last game we saw Sam Howell in the preseason, and he was lights out. He went 19 for 25, 188 yards and 2 touchdowns, had a few huge plays. We'll talk more about the stats later, but yeah, huge preseason win by the Commanders, 2-0 in the preseason. They were down 28-20 in the fourth quarter. Jarrett Patterson caught a 15-yard touchdown pass from Jake Fromm with 4:06 left in the fourth quarter to make it 28-26. Had a 2-point conversion play, didn't work out, to Alex Arma, I believe. And then Joey Sly field goal with 9 seconds left, 49 yards. So awesome. So awesome to also see Ravens fans so angry about how excited Commanders fans are. Like, they were like, this is their Super Bowl? Yeah, it is our Super Bowl. And what's the problem with that? we don't have anything to be excited about in the regular season these past few years, so let us cherish these really important, fun moments before the insane disappointment that is the season comes in hot. I think it'll be a good season, but still, it was just fun, right? But in that game, Terry McLaurin did suffer an injury in the second quarter. It was a turf toe incident, I believe. The MRI and X-ray were both negative, but it's been super murky with Terry about all that stuff and not great. I know he was in a boot for a little bit. He hasn't practiced anything like that, so not great stuff. I know he's questionable for week 1 now, which is not what anybody wants. Ron Rivera has been making a lot of quotes, a lot of great quotes that are really fun for the media to pick apart and kind of make him seem a little bit not the brightest with the things he said. He said a lot about Eric Bieniemy these past few weeks. Saying that players were coming up to him saying like, oh, he's too hard on us, blah, blah, blah. But this, since our last episode, he said that, well, one, he said Sam is their starter and that he's so happy they don't have a question mark at quarterback anymore, which I think is just such an important thing. He said the past few years he's always had a question mark with, guys like Ryan Fitzpatrick, Taylor Heineke, Carson Wentz. So, to have him say that and give that bill of confidence to Sam is a really big deal. But he also did say something pretty bad about Sam Howell, which got the media to be a little bit uproared about. Let me find the quote right now. It was about Sam, how Sam started that Week 18 game and Ron was so surprised. Let's find it. Let's find the quote. But yeah, he said there's not that question mark still when it's coming to the Sam Howell being the quarterback anymore. But all right, so here's the quote. Ron said that after that Week 18 game against the Cowboys when they started, Ron was very frustrated with the fact that he did not start Sam sooner, which is not a thing you want to say because you're the head coach. He was in practice every single day with Sam Howell. We, the fans, were always calling for Sam to start over guys like Carson Wentz. I mean, he started Carson Wentz in a must-win game against the Cleveland Browns in Week 17. But, yeah, I'll just read you the quote. And, the thing is, Ron didn't even want to start Sam that Week 18 game. He wanted to start Taylor, and Taylor Heineke said, no, you have to start Sam. So let me just give you the quote. This is from an article on Bleacher Report. Even fellow quarterback Taylor Heineke, who was competing with Howell for playing time, praised his teammate. Now here we go into the quote. Taylor told me, Coach, this guy's got arm talent. I can't throw the ball like he does, Rivera said. Taylor told me that. I think the world of who Taylor is. For him to tell me that's what drove me to play Howell against Dallas. It was really how honest and upfront Taylor was about this thing. I thought, I got to play this kid. Sure enough, he lived up to it. So, I mean, the fact that your head coach didn't see how talented this guy was and your backup quarterback had to come in and say you have to play this guy is not a good sign to start off, and then it just gets worse. So then this is a quote from Ron Rivera talking to his wife. You can ask Stephanie. All we effing talked about was the quarterback, what the quarterback did, who he was, Rivera said. I kept saying, if I would have known this, I would have played him sooner. When you only have so much time to show, it's hard. I kept thinking, God. But after that game, everything told me this kid, give him the opportunity to see what he does with it. So Ron is basically saying there that, I really should have started this kid. I feel bad that I didn't. Ron, you practiced for him with months. For months. I mean, from the second he was drafted in April, you're talking about June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. How did you not know? How did Ron Rivera not know that he was ready to play? I mean, we're talking about what? Okay, let's do it. June? No, not June. July, August, September, October, November, December. 6 months, Ron. 6 months, and they practice almost every single day. Training camp, film room, You're watching Carson Wentz throw picks every single practice. I remember the reports. Everybody remembers the reports. How inaccurate Carson Wentz was. And you did not know that Sam would potentially be better, and then you're saying, oh man, if I just, you're the head coach, Ron. You're the one who's supposed to make those decisions. I don't understand how he didn't know. And it's mind-boggling to me and frustrating, and this is just supporting my idea, like, Man, ownership, just please get rid of Ron at the end of the season. Give the reins to Eric Bieniemy. Ron Rivera is an amazing person. I think he's a fantastic character, culture builder, etc., right? I love him. And I think he'd be amazing in the front office. I mean, look at these first-round picks we've had. Jahan Dotson, Emmanuel Forbes, now Jamin Davis unfolding before our eyes. You know, I've been really happy with the draft production. Cameron Curl in the 7th round. I mean, I'm really happy, but it's been bad, man. I mean, these quotes, they're just saying, like, what are we doing out here, Ron? What are you talking about? What are you talking? You watched him in practice. Okay. Not going to get mad. Just got to take a deep breath. But, Ron, the media's turning on Ron. Pat McAfee, prominent ESPN personality, and I love Pat McAfee, but he said, like, Ron has lost his fastball. I mean, you look at all these quotes lately, like, talking about the guys coming up to Eric Bieniemy. Ron doesn't know what to keep in. Like, he doesn't know what to say to the media anymore. He keeps saying the wrong thing and doing the wrong thing. Like, he's got to know when to not talk about stuff. And I can't imagine Josh Harris is liking this either. They're trying to flip the script on this idea of Washington being a joke of a franchise. It seems like Ron Rivera is still stuck in the past. But we'll move on to the next topic now. So, also, a rumor that came out the other day is, so Chase Young's been going through practice, dealing with everything, but no contact stuff. He's been stretching, he's been out there working, etc., right? But apparently he's dealing with a stinger injury, and he's not cleared for contact, uncertain for week 1, very murky and uncertain situation. Listen, I don't know what's going on with Chase Young. He was such a stud his rookie year, but since then, he was weak his second year before he got injured, and then he's been just banged up, injured. I mean, is he becoming a bust before our own eyes? I mean, I love Chase. I think he's a fantastic guy. He's an amazing freak athlete, and I wish him the best of luck, and I'll be praying that he gets better, but I don't know what's going on with him and how he's always so hurt. And this, like, the stuff with him and the stuff with Terry just seems so uncertain and weird, and I'm just not sure what's happening. But we'll see what happens. I mean, him and Terry both being questionable for week 1 is very scary, but at the same time, we'll get into the next piece of news. The Cardinals, who are our week 1 opponent and the easiest opponent we're going to play all year, seem to be potentially tanking. I mean, they cut Colt McCoy, who was scheduled to be their starting quarterback, because Kyler Murray was placed on the IR. He's going to be out for at least the first 4 weeks of the season. They cut him. He was going to be the starter against us. They trade for Joshua Dobbs, and their late-round pick, Clayton Tune quarterback, they're in a competition who's going to start week 1, and their new head coach said that the Eagles DC, Jonathan Gannon, he said that they're not saying who's going to start for a competitive advantage. They also traded Isaiah Simmons to the New York Giants for like a 7th-round pick. Zach Ertz is questionable, their star tight end. And they traded one of their backup tackles, Josh Jones, who's a pretty good piece on the offensive line, to the Texans for a late-round pick. It's very scary stuff to think if Washington loses to this Cardinals team, because it honestly seems like they're tanking. And I'm not sure if they're tanking potentially for Caleb Williams, or if they're tanking the way the Bears... Not the Bears didn't tank, but if they're tanking to try to get in a position where the Bears were, where the Bears had their franchise quarterback and had the number 1 overall pick and were able to get Hall in return. So we'll see what happens, but Washington has to beat the Cardinals week 1. So I'm not too worried about Terry and Chase being out, but we really do need all hands on deck. But also, Commanders also won their 3rd and final preseason game against Cincinnati 21-19, so 3-0 in the preseason. First time that's happened in a few years, so great stuff there. All backups in that game. No Howell, no starters, nothing. Probably got a little bit scared with Terry getting hurt in that second quarter of the preseason game of Game 2. Listen, I'm not going to get mad at them for playing Terry. It's completely normal to play starters in preseason unless like you're the Chiefs. This team needs the offensive reps, so I don't hate playing Terry. Just unfortunate. Terry doesn't really get banged up that much, but he did this time, so I'm hoping he gets better. But listen, the team has to be able to perform without him, so we'll see what happens. Also, 53-man roster was released a few days ago. Got a lot to talk about with that. We'll get into that more in the next segment. But yep, that's it for Command the News. I'll see you guys in the next segment. And welcome back to the second segment of Episode 6 of the Command Center. I am Joseph Henry. It's been a bit for me since the first segment. I just got a haircut, but for you guys, just seconds. So looking even more spiffy for this one. It might not look different at all. I don't know, but we'll see. But anyway, Now, we're not in Command the News anymore. A different segment now. We're going to be discussing the 53-man roster for this Commanders team, which was just released a few days ago on August 29th. It is just news, but it's so much news to go over that I figured it was best to just give it its own segment. So we're going to run through the roster, and then we'll talk about some of the notable things. So on the active roster, 2 quarterbacks, Sam Howell and Jacoby Brissett. 3 running backs, Brian Robinson Jr., Antonio Gibson, and Chris Rodriguez Jr. Wide receiver 7, Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, Diami Brown, Byron Pringle, Dax Milne, and Mitchell Tinsley. And then 4 tight ends, Logan Thomas, John Bates, Cole Turner, and Curtis Hodges. 9 offensive linemen, Charles Leno, Sadiq Charles, Nick Gates, Sam Cosmi, Andrew Wiley, Cornelius Lucas, Ricky Stromberg, Trent Scott, and Chris Paul. Then 11 defensive linemen. I'm going to split this into defensive end and defensive tackle. For end, Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Casey Toohill, James Smith-Williams, F.A. Obata, K.J. Henry, and Andre Jones Jr. And then D tackle, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Fedarian Mathis, and John Ridgway. 4 linebackers, Jamin Davis, Cody Barton, Khalid Hudson, and David Mayo. 5 corners, Kendall Fuller, Benjamin St. Juste, Emmanuel Forbes, Danny Johnson, and Christian Holmes. 5 safeties, Cameron Curl, Derek Forrest, Percy Butler, Quan Martin, and Jeremy Reeves. And then 3 specialists, Tress White punter, Joey Sly kicker, and long snapper Cameron Cheeseman. So that is the 53-man roster, the initial 53-man roster. There's already been some changes, however. So basically, what's happened since that roster, is that off-ball linebacker Jabril Cox of the Dallas Cowboys, who was a 2021 fourth-round pick, was signed to Washington's practice squad. F.A. Obata, defensive end, and Fedarian Mathis, defensive tackle, were both placed on the IL, short-term IL, so they can come back at some point during the season. Tyler Larson looks like he'll be coming back to take one of their spots. Not sure about the other player yet. Looks like they're going to be elevating somebody soon. But also, yeah, so that's the moves that have happened. So that's the roster as it is right now. And then let's take a look at some of the notable cuts that didn't make this roster. So, one that really stood out to me was Alex Armah, the fullback / tight end. Thought he had a really good camp, really good preseason games. He was a fantastic blocker, and he's been with Ron in Carolina for a long, long time. And then, Ron loves his Carolina guys, so he brought him over here. So interesting move to cut him, but putting Curtis Hodges as that 4th tight end on the active roster. I've always heard about how athletic he is. He was an undrafted guy, so I feel like they really like him a lot. So we'll see, but definitely an interesting move. He's clearly going to be re-signed to the practice squad. Not many teams interested in a fullback or that type of tight end nowadays. Also, Kazmir Allen, the wide receiver / punt returner, who was having a really good training camp and looked like he'd be the one to take Dax Milne's job as a depth wide receiver and also return man, did not make the roster. He had a really bad 3rd preseason game against the Bengals, had a punt, fumble. So really tough stuff, and that ended up costing him a roster spot. Offensive tackle Braden Daniels, the former 4th-round pick, was placed on season-ending IR with a torn rotator cuff. Heard that this is an injury that he potentially could have came back from this season, but it's more of like a draft and stash type move. Like, he wasn't going to play this year anyway, so they're putting him on IR just to get him healthy and also just develop for next season. So a little bit frustrating when you consider the fact that guys like DeJuan Jones, who are immediately backups to other teams, like the Cleveland Browns tackle, who was drafted after him, or maybe slightly before, but it feels like Washington could have gone with a more win-now guy because the offensive line's already not in the best spot, but that he's on the IR at the end of the season. So Trent Scott, veteran offensive tackle, took his place on the roster. Jake Fromm, our 3rd quarterback, was cut. He's on the practice squad now. Jarrett Patterson, running back, was cut. He had a pretty good preseason, but to go with 3 running backs is something that's a little bit surprising, but I guess they really just like Chris Rodriguez Jr. more. Yeah, that's mostly it, I believe. Don't see anything else in terms of roster. We went over everybody, but definitely very interesting. Not what you'd expect in some areas, at least for me, with guys like Alex Armah. I really thought Kazmir Allen had earned his spot on the roster before that 3rd preseason game, but they went with getting rid of him. So tough call there, but feels like he's going to be on the practice squad and stuff like that. And I'm sure that practice squad roster will be getting set official in these next few days or so. So that's it from there. Apparently, Logan Thomas, tight end, who's been having some health struggles, has been feeling good and everything like that. So that's great news. But yeah, it's really all the roster news I have. And now to get into some other news still. This is actually should have been part of Commander news, my mistake. But there's been so much talk about the name being changed these past few weeks since new ownership came over, and Jason Wright came out and said straight up, no, we're not going back to the Redskins. Not going back to that old name. If it does go back to a different name, it would not be that. I feel bad for Jason Wright. Obviously, president of the old regime. Worked very closely with Dan Snyder. Spent a lot of time and effort on this rebrand. And now he gets this new ownership, and it seems like all the work that Jason Wright has done is getting kind of thrown away, and they're potentially considering a new name. According to Joe Theismann, who went on the Pat McAfee show and said that it seems the organization is leading into the direction of a new name. Listen, I've never liked that idea. I don't think it's a good idea to rebrand. I think the fans are, kind of committed to this. Like, there's so much merchandise and effort and time and money spent. Like, for me personally, like, to buy all this stuff that I have that represents the Commanders, that's a lot of my money. So unless the Commanders are going to offer, like, a way for people to come in and exchange their Commanders merchandise for whatever new merchandise comes out, if there's a new team name change, I'm pretty upset because I got all three different types of jerseys. Like, I don't want that just as a one-off. So, the fans get excited. They try to wrap their arms around something like, of course the old fans aren't going to like the new name Commanders. They love the name Redskins. They don't want that to go anywhere. No matter what the new name is, if it's not Redskins, people aren't going to be happy with it. You will never have a name that's truly a fan favorite. Like, I don't know if the new ownership group realizes that whatever the new name is, people are going to be unhappy with it. It could even be Redskins. It could go back to Redskins and people would still be unhappy. I would be unhappy. So we'll see. It's just a long process, and it's frustrating as a fan to know we went from Redskins to football team to Commanders, and that was just such a long journey. And now guys like Joe Theismann are saying, like, maybe there's going to be a new name. That's what I'm feeling from the organization. Like, very frustrating stuff. Very, very frustrating stuff. So we'll see how it happens, but, I'm obviously not hoping that happens because I really like the Commanders name, honestly, and I know a lot of fans do, and fans have tried to wrap their arms around that. But at the end of the day, and I talked about this in the first episode of the Command Center, all that matters is winning games. If you can win football games, then it doesn't matter what your name is, what your mascot is, what your jerseys are. You got to win football games. And if we can do that this season, I don't think anybody will care about the name. So let's take a look now at a more in-depth look. We briefly talked about this in Commander News of the Commanders' second preseason one of the season against the Baltimore Ravens. It was at home, obviously. Ended the Ravens' massive preseason win streak, 24 games in the preseason, and the Commanders just took over. So it seems like the offensive starters played for about a half. So Sam Howell was really, really good. Talked about his stats before. He was 19 for 25, 188 yards, 2 touchdowns, 123.4 passer rating. He also had 3 rushes for 17 yards. In the rushing department, Antonio Gibson was 4 for 15. Brian Robinson was 5 for 21, and then Chris Rodriguez came in the second half, and he was 5 for 31. Jacoby Brissett 7 for 11 with a pick. Jake Fromm 10 for 16 with a touchdown. Had some different rushers. Derek Gore, he was cut 3 for 23. Jonathan Williams also cut 2 for 15, so nothing crazy there. Receiving, I think that the connection between Jahan Dotson and Sam Howell is going to be really deadly to defenses this year and really important to the Commanders' success. They were really had it going on in that second half, especially when in that second quarter, especially when Terry went down with injury. Jahan had 5 receptions for 76 yards and 7 targets. Terry McLaurin had 3 for 39. Diami Brown had 2 for 27. Cole Turner had 2 for 24. Brian Robinson had 4 for 17. Antonio Gibson 3 for 10. So I'm really interested to see how the running backs get used in this offense because I think they're both very talented in Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. But one of them is most certainly going to take over and be the feature premier back for this team. And I'm really interested to see what it is because it feels like it should be Antonio Gibson with this Eric Bieniemy offense. But who knows? I mean, his way of catching and running might not be what they're looking for. Maybe they want a true power back. I mean, look at Isaiah Pacheco last year with the Chiefs, a 7th-round pick. Shout out Rutgers. He was an absolute menace of a power back, and they used him a lot. So we'll have to see how it plays out. But that was really it. Rodriguez did fumble and lose it, but obviously didn't affect the team too much. Looking at the defensive stats, Andre Jones had a tackle for loss. Jartavius Martin had a pass deflected. And he also had a crazy interception return. It was a return for 59 yards. Really impressive stuff. Nothing else really blowing up for me on the stat sheet. Benning Pote. I don't know how to say this guy's name. I've seen him before. I remember his last name kind of looks like potato. Potoa apostrophe Pote. He's been a good player for us. I'm not gonna lie. Kendall Fuller had a pass deflected. Nothing crazy. All in all. And the Commanders won that one in the last-second field goal. Major comeback by them in the fourth quarter. So really good play calling and situational awareness, which we haven't seen from Washington. Not sure what the preseason really means in the grand scheme of things, but last season they lost all their preseason games. And now they won them all. So we'll see what happens. It could mean nothing. It could mean everything. Only time will tell. All that matters is 9 days from now when the Commanders take on the Cardinals at home. And then just a quick recap of the Bengals game. This one does not really matter that much because none of the starters played at all. So Commanders won 21-19 to get their third and final preseason win. The Bengals took the lead 7-0. Commanders answered back with a Mitchell Tinsley touchdown pass from Jacoby Brissett, 7-7. Evan McPherson hit a field goal, so it was 10-7. Then Jake Fromm threw a pass to Bryce Tremaine, took the lead 14-10. Evan McPherson field goal. Washington still led 14-13. Jake Fromm threw a touchdown pass to Brandon Dillon, took the lead 21-13. And then Bengals scored a touchdown 21-19. Reed Signett threw a pass to Shedrick Jackson. You see, I don't even know most of these guys' names because they're not even on NFL rosters anymore. And I know most NFL players, honestly. So, Commanders got the win 21-19. Pretty impressive stuff. Not much to talk about here. Feels weird saying that about a game. But, Jacoby Brissett was okay. 10 for 15, 96 yards, 1 touchdown. Jake Fromm was pretty good. 13 for 18, 144 yards, 2 touchdowns. Chris Rodriguez was really good. I think that's the job. He earned his job here. 7 rushes for 52 yards. Jarrett Patterson, 8 rushes for 51 yards. So I think that was kind of the decision who's going to get cut, who's not. Also, Chris Rodriguez was a draft pick. Mitchell Tinsley, 3 for 89 and a touchdown. Really impressive stuff here by him. Kazmir Allen lost the fumble, not great. And not much on the defensive end. Terrell Burgess was cut also. That's a big part that I want to note. Terrell Burgess, the safety, former Los Angeles Ram, thought that he was going to be a big part of the roster this year and being a backup safety, but they like their draft picks better, and the way they've been drafting safeties, I can't really go against that. Jartavius Martin has been a little bit inconsistent, but also flashed a lot this preseason, so we'll see how he does. He's mostly going to be a backup, but all these late-round safeties they pick have been amazing so far. Terrell Burgess had a pass deflected. J.C. Whitaker had 2 passes deflected. William Bradley King had a sack, a tackle for loss. Not much to note here. Just a good win. Joey Sly, 3 for 3 on extra points. He's had a pretty good preseason kicking the ball. But pretty basic games there. Obviously very good to get those preseason wins under your belt. 3-0. The vibes right now, at least speaking from a fan, are amazing among the Commanders. People are excited. People are energetic. The stadium after beating that Ravens game was crazy. I wasn't there, but I've seen the footage. I've seen the audio. I'm talking fast. I gotta take a deep breath. Sorry. Just a lot to talk about, man. It's been a while since our last episode. But, very impressive stuff. The vibes from the fan base are great. Obviously, now that the 53-man roster is finalized, it's really just getting ready for week 1, right? Like, what are these injuries looking like? What's Terry, Chase? Got to keep the offensive line healthy. We know what everybody's going to be playing. I'll go over the depth chart probably in the next episode, but pretty good stuff. Then we're going to wrap up the episode now. Kind of went over everything I wanted to go over, looking at my papers. But just a good preseason one. They're fun, good for energy, good for vibes. But want to thank everybody for tuning in. I was also on my friend Brett Hahn from Rutgers podcast, Totally Goated. You can find that online. We talked about the Commanders for a full episode, so that was a lot of fun. He seems to know a bit about them, a bit more than Tim Moore did on the podcast I did with Eddie Kalegi and him. Sports Speak Live. I know they're all part of the same umbrella over there. But yeah, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. It was a really fun time talking about the Commanders. Sorry for such a late episode. I just had so much going on, so busy, just a lot going on with my personal life and also just, getting ready for school and everything like that. But thank you everybody for tuning in. That's really it for Commanders news. Hope you all enjoyed and that I was prepared and informative as always. Thank you all for listening and tuning in. And, go Commanders, man. We're going to see this team take off soon. And I'm really excited. No matter what, we're still going to be out here pumping out the content, talking about them. So, yeah, just want to thank everybody for tuning in and caring. And I'll see you in the next one. Live from the Command Center, this is Joseph Henry. Have a good one. See you next time.